starts to pick up another level here. And we got a full house tonight. I got my usual with me. I got Jimmy Pilato with me. I got Jordan Maxson, who's with us for another week. And he's with us again for this season on episode 2. Jimmy, he's able to come in for us. Rev, I know he does a lot of work with you guys out there.
The problem, Hoka.
He's back on it. Rev, got to start with you first, man. Good to see you. Ready to do a little football with you again.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me along here. It's basically been since last postseason. So, yeah, definitely feel the warm welcoming here. So, yeah, let's chat the stuff up again.
And as I'd be remiss here, we're brought to you here at Variety Sports Network. Be sure to follow us there. I will listen to you guys this morning on the tailgate show. So I wanted to get kind of some early information on some of the picks there and what you guys were thinking there. So did a little homework with you guys for you guys early this week. But Rev, you brought up last year. Last year, right before I remember your last show, the Lions were on that night and they beat the Packers that night. We were talking about next year and how they were coming on. I got to go game of the day right there with it. They come back to beat the Bears today, and like a game they should win. But it's kind of one of those games where I'm starting to think again, like, all right, this team they're starting to even win ugly games a little bit, Jimmy. This team's kind of making me to think a little bit differently.
No, and I said it on this morning show too. I think that there was a little bit going around that the Bears were this god-awful team, and they aren't good, but Justin Fields looked pretty damn good, and the team as a whole is still fighting. You still have professional athletes. It's not like it's always going to be just a pushover. It's good to see them win and win in the fashion that they did, but it was a little bit scary. I was hoping that they would win for Pickham's sake and all of those good things that we do every time. But I did think that this was going to be a game where the Lions could tend to struggle.
Yeah, and I really think something that came up is that Lions team last year in which, yeah, they were great on offense but extremely volatile, where you see some defensive lapses, that creeped up again. And you got Justin Fields with a more improved receiving core, I'd say, this year, coming off of injury. You heard the tabloids early on in the season talking about whether or not he'd be a bust or whether or not he'd make it out, whether or not he was in the right headspace. And he came back, had something to prove here. The D2 quarterback came in, Tyson Bagent, did a decent job of taking over considering the circumstances, but he had something to prove. And the Lions defense this year has shown signs of being a more dominant team. You got Aiden Hutchinson anchoring things up on the up front, but some of that team from last year that couldn't stop a nosebleed, like it rears in there every once in a while, whether that's last week in which that LA Chargers game was just a shootout based off whoever had the ball last would win the game. And you kind of saw pieces of that team from last year. The defensive lapses came in, but Jared Goff had a rough game but was able to pull it off at the end.
Jordan, what do you make of it there? You got the Lions, like I said, they pull it off. The Bears, just a golden opportunity. It's kind of what a Bears team does there when you're not very good. You can't find a way to win it. They get the safety at the end. Your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I kind of called it this morning. I said it was going to be a nose-to-nose game. I thought it was going to be close. It played out that way. But Justin Fields had a lot to prove. With his feet, good Lord, I think he had 106 yards rushing today. Some from scrambles, some from design, but he kind of looked unstoppable. How fast
he is.
He's
one you forget.
People kind of forget his mobility, but definitely proud of the Lions. They gutted one out. I think you could stamp that as a signature win right up there with Week 1 against Kansas City. Gotten out a close one where things didn't look good. Jared Goff didn't play particularly well. I think he threw under 50% completion rating after it was all said and done. But that's kind of what they needed because they kind of got pushed around by the Ravens and they've been kind of limping along. So big shout out to them.
I was going to ask. I got my guy here, CP. We're going to get to Tommy DeVito. I got a little section for him in a little bit.
Mamma mia.
Yeah, I actually remember his name now. I swear, everyone was calling him Daddy DeVito the first couple of weeks. At least he got his name back. So,
guys, here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing. Tommy DeVito is also the name of the guitar player from Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons.
I did not know that. I did not know. Good knowledge. That's what I like there. Yeah, Tommy DeVito. We'll get to him a little bit later with it. CP, good to have you on the show here. My guy Tyler here. Do the Lions scare anybody of the top teams in the NFC? I think that's the big question we ask almost every week. Are they getting into that Eagles-Niners conversation? Anybody willing to put them there with it yet?
Right now, I'm gonna put them right up there with the Dallas Cowboys, where sometimes, depending on the right matchup, they could look really good. They could squash a certain matchup here and there, but I really don't know once you get up to the Philadelphia and San Francisco. Now that their full team is back, Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, and their teams at full strength, I don't think they're quite there yet, but they're on the tier with like the Dallas Cowboys, where maybe we could win a playoff game, but it kind of feels like once they reach that certain echelon, like they're good, like their flaws are going to show off right there.
Tyler, to answer your question, it's not Tommy. It is Tommy, but not DeVito.
Yes, it is. No.
Is
Yes,
DeVito too?
yes. The name in the movie, it's Tommy DeVito. It's named. It's based off of the real life gangster Tommy DeSimone, but in the movie they call him Tommy DeVito. Yes.
I did not realize that's the way they pronounce the last name in DeVito. But that is good knowledge here. So we do it all. We do more than football. We do movies too. We touch on a little bit of everything here. A little DeVito trade action. Perfect. He's the Giants quarterback too at the same time. So yeah, Lions get that win with that one. Let's get to the team. I saw you bust out the shirt this morning with the Steelers. You busted out the shirt here.
Oh, it's still here.
I think you guys all said the Browns are going to win an ugly affair. Garrett, he comes out, he wrecks havoc there right away. I'll get to play up here on the day where
sorry, Rev, not sorry.
Just say
I
no.
don't know. You gotta take your moral victories. Hey, at least we can lose together this week.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, well, maybe on that I don't like it. So
Though sometimes I feel like when I squint at my TV screen, I really can't tell the difference. Sometimes between Kenny Pickett and Skyler, or who's the guy, Jake Browning. Sometimes I feel like I can't tell the difference. But
what's up with your Steelers, man? They're 6-3. They lose today with that. I mean, is that you? Are you just like? How do you feel? You're the Steelers fan. Like we keep talking about, like they're just kind of feel like they're getting lucky, and then I don't know. Like I don't know what to make of it. What do you think?
Well, I feel like until we could get consistent quarterback play, there's always a certain ceiling where I watch every Steelers game. I feel like 95% of the game, I really don't know whether or not we're going to win it. Then we just kind of pull it off because, well, usually it's about getting the running game going and not making mistakes and causing lots of turnovers. And the thing is, Pickett has no excuses here. The running game was great. Jaylen Warren, off of 9 attempts, had like something like 130 yards and a touchdown. The running game was there. The defense was stingy. They got the interception. I believe it was Chandon Sullivan or something. Like we got the interception. Like we made plays. Like the running game was there, but for whatever reason, Pickett couldn't build off of that. And normally that was the key going into the year. Like try to establish a play action game, get the running game going so Pickett could get some weight off his shoulders. That was there. You know, we could only blame Matt Canada so much. Eventually, Kenny Pickett's got to make some throws.
Well, your running back came out and said we're tired of the Steelers' struggles on offense. The Browns' defense, though, there's no joke. I just had the Garrett play right up there on it. They look pretty crazy. Jordan, Garrett, he's unstoppable right now.
Garrett, well, the whole Browns defensive is a unit. They're only giving up 235 yards per game. Crazy. Number one in the league for yards allowed. So it's no joke.
Can they win though with Watson? I guess that's the question that we got to answer. Is like, is their defense at that elite level where it's like, can Dilfer take them to the Super Bowl? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what we got.
I get a 2001's vibe from this team. I mean, they have a good running game. I mean, if you add a Nick Chubb to this, absolutely, you could put that in the conversation.
Wow.
Great running game, great defense, minimum turnovers.
Yeah, they have the Jamal Lewis factor, I guess, a little bit the Ravens teams have with those guys. Yeah, they don't have that. So we're still out on them because of the Watson injury that goes down. It's a huge injury. The whole division's got in. You had Burrow go down. You had Watson go down. You had Andrews go down.
Anybody think Joe Flacco's going to make an impact, or was that just a sign?
I hope he plays, but I hope he plays for Baltimore so they end up losing the division.
What did you guys think of the rookie today from Cleveland? Rev, do you think he had anything, the guy from Cleveland? Or what? I mean, what do you guys think?
I think he was better than his first outing, but
his first outing was not right.
The playbook looks small, a lot of hitch routes instead of trying to push the ball downfield, and
Is that bad though?
The Steelers crap up on that in the second half and made it a long game.
Yeah, it basically looked like a better version of what we expect from Kenny Pickett, but for that reason he can't execute, where short passes, dink and dunk, don't make a mistake. Our running game will carry things, and we got a defense to keep things close. And that's basically the blueprint of what we are trying to follow. And Thompson Robinson, he wasn't perfect. He had some goofy passes here and there. He had that pick, but ultimately it was a lot of short passes, chew up the clock, run the ball. We're not going to make you win the game.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he did just that.
And that's the thing is like when you come postseason, that's just not gonna get the job done against these.
That's exactly what coaches try and do in the post.
You think 13 points is gonna win you a game though?
With that defense, yes.
Yeah. All right.
But ultimately, you gotta be a little skittish once those Miamis roll around. Once maybe Buffalo on a good day, but who knows? If
Myles Garrett's going to take David Achane and Batista bomb him into the backfield, and then we're going to see how fast this Dolphins offense is.
So are your Bengals out of this AFC North now because of this Burrow injury? How are you guys
I would say division is definitely like the light is basically out on the division.
Okay.
I know I sound way more pessimistic off camera. I'm trying to keep my optimism because I've been reading and trying to work on like stoicism because I feel like it's beneficial for just life in general. But as a teacher, I get to teach a little philosophy too. So I'm trying, but it's hard for me to sit here and say that Jake Browning, the last meaningful football Jake Browning played before Thursday night was beating CU in the Pac-12 championship in 2016. I was in college. So if he can do something and maybe prove, he's a backup quarterback. Here's the thing that I was thinking about this morning, and I never even really got a chance to say it on the tailgate show. I didn't know how to put it into words. But if you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, if you have a quarterback like Peyton Manning, if you have a quarterback like Tom Brady, how often is it that your backup is just as good? When you have this elite quarterback, how often do you have more than one elite quarterback on the same roster? So the fact that Burrow's down, and you should be able to overcome that, but you don't have – it's not like you have Brock Purdy or Gardner Minshew or this proven backup quarterback. So –
yeah, and I really think something really needs to be said there just due to the lack of investment.
Hefty, Tyler.
I mean, we still have A.J. McCarron on the roster. Everybody keeps overlooking that.
We would become Team VSN if A.J. McCarron plays because he's the Battlehawks quarterback.
Go ahead, Rev.
I just think there's something that should be concerning just from the fact when you look at the first 3 games of the season when Burrow was clearly not okay, clearly hobbling around on one calf and had absolutely zero mobility left to even really – he was down to a shell of himself because he had no mobility. And the fact that they didn't trust their backup enough to play those first 3 games of the season when he was clearly hobbled definitely shows a sign of concern. The fact that they don't trust their backup and they haven't invested enough in a backup. So
I don't think that's a trust issue. You made him the highest paid player in the NFL. You want to see what he's got, and he has a Warriors mentality. There's a lot to be said in that. If you put your best player out there, regardless of condition he's in, you're always going to be in a position, at least mentally, for the best position to win. That I don't think confidence in the rest of the roster had anything to do with it. You always think you're going to win a game with your best player, regardless on any level of sports. Everybody wants to be out there, a true competitor.
So like I said, the AFC North injuries, to break it down again, Burrow goes down. Watson goes down for the Browns. Andrews goes down. That's not any light injury for a team like the way that they use him in Baltimore. And then you got your Steelers who, like you said, just seem to be struggling to do anything on offense, but just kind of pull out wins here, just left and right here. So I guess to kind of wrap up this discussion on it, which injury is it the Bengals that are killed the most by this Burrow injury? I mean, but you look at the rest of your team like, oh, they're pretty good. But then you say the Browns, and they already had Chubb go down. So you know what I mean? But they have an all-great defense. So I guess just to kind of wrap it up, like which team real quick is going to be affected by that big injury? To me, that's pretty crazy. In 1 week, those 3 stars go out.
I think it's Baltimore. And I think I can confidently say that it's Baltimore because look at that first drive that the Ravens had with Andrews in the game and how much the offense goes through him. And he's a warrior. He's a leader. So I think that they're going to miss him going forward, especially if Lamar's not 100% of his athletic capabilities. He looked shaken up on Thursday. He was finishing the game and he could still scramble, but not having his tight end security blanket and one of the better tight ends, not going to say the best, but one of the better tight ends in the NFL and in the AFC, I think Andrews is going to hurt the Ravens down the stretch. And if Lamar ends up going on Lamar's schedule where he gets hurt, that's going to kill their chances and kill their season for like the 6th year in a row.
No doubt.
Personally, I feel a lot more concerned about Cincinnati here simply due to the fact that Baltimore, they have different things they could go to. Like, yeah, there isn't necessarily a wide receiver one. Like, Rashad Bateman has had periods here and there. It feels like he's had his mental battles. He's dropped some passes, dealt with injuries where you don't know whether or not you can trust him all the time. Odell is holding on, and he's a savvy veteran, but he's not who he used to be. But you still have pieces you could go to here and there, and you got the run game you can lean on, in which J.K. Dobbins is out for the season towards Achilles, but the running game is still as effective as ever. So you could go to that, whereas with Cincinnati, what? You're going to go to Joe Mixon, in which – you look at where things are now, it almost seems like he's at the end of his prime right now. Like, are you going to lean on a running game? Are you going to, hope for the best with Jake Browning? Like, what's he going to pull off here? And what do they truly think of him?
Go ahead, Jordan.
I mean, Jake, we have tons of options. We still have Jamar Chase. T. Higgins gets back in a fold. He's the number 1 receiver anywhere else in the league. You have that. We have an emerging tight end that's making fantastic plays. We have an offensive line that's still above average, regardless of how we complain about it. Joe Mixon, yards per carry, if you want to look at the average, it's over 5 yards per carry right now. The problem is they get away from him after he carries and carries and carries in the first couple of drives, and I said that this morning on the tailgate. And then they kind of abandon it and go to a pass, because, I mean, we have one of the better quarterbacks in the league, so why not? But you have to totally reconfigure the game. Browning in Washington, if you watch him, he's way more mobile than Joe Burrow in a sense of he will be able to tuck it and run it. He will have design plays for him. Have no doubt that the offensive scheme is going to kind of go around that. It's if you look at the Vikings right now and the mobility of Josh Dobbs. I mean, if you think Cincinnati's not taking notes on the ability to kind of extend plays with a much better offense with weapons and receivers around.
As you say that, he just threw an interception.
Oh, it is. I got a 10-9 right now.
I'm behind on my stream.
There's a flag, so I don't know what's going to stand. Here's what I'm thinking, and if Jordan, if you have more to add to, I'll let you go again. But I think if he wouldn't have this backup role, they wouldn't have kept him in the backup spot, Browning specifically, if he wasn't somewhat similar to the way that Burrow likes to play. They didn't think that they could get something similar, they could call the same plays. I listened to the radio guys podcast after the game, and they asked him point blank, Browning, how much of the playbook were you responsible to know? And he said all of it. So he's legitimately preparing every week like Burrow is going to get taken out of the game. So Browning might have something. I'm interested. Now that game has me sunk back in. I'm pulled back in because I want to see what's going to happen.
It'll be interesting how you guys bounce back. I say the Browns now they lose their quarterback and running back here, so the AFC North takes a big hit this week with it. As I kind of touched about the Dolphins, they win today against the Raiders, kind of in a tight game. The Raiders just not able to do enough on offense to get the job done. O'Connell throws three interceptions. I guess it kind of leads to my bigger point is like now with Burrow going down, we just talked about those other injuries. It's the Chiefs now, right, and everybody else, or is the Dolphins? Are they on? You know what I mean? Like I guess I just feel like it's kind of disappointing that Burrow goes down like that because it just feels like it's kind of just the Chiefs again here.
But even then, it feels like the Chiefs simply because, Patrick Mahomes has a track record and all of that, obviously the 2 Super Bowls, but they have to go back to the drawing board a little bit because at this point you've seen the struggles in the passing game. You've seen things become a little more conservative and where they're a lot more reliant on the defense to keep them in games, and the defense will be extremely disruptive. And it feels like an identity change because you hear about, the flash and the pizzazz of having Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift coming around to all the games and the electrifying offense over the years in which at this point you look at things, their best outside receivers, Rashee Rice. We've seen some bumps in the road here and there. It's really the defense picking up more of the slack, in which I feel like the AFC is a little bit more wide open. It's just they have a little bit more of the edge because they have a quarterback who's been there before. But I really don't think Baltimore and Jacksonville's that far off right now.
So do you put the Dolphins too then?
Well,
Or
yeah,
you
I
go
put them
Baltimore?
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of put them right there, just like in the tier of like Miami and Jacksonville, just being the healthier teams right now. Just like a half a tier right below KC.
Just trying to imagine, Jimmy, these teams going in there, which team's going to take on KC and Kansas City and beat them. You know what I mean? Like, what realistic option is
The
that?
Bengals are the only ones who've been proven to be able to do it.
That's my point. Now with him out, it kind of feels like they're in the driver's seat a little bit to me.
I think this helps the Jaguars. If any team is going to benefit outside of the AFC North from the Bengals injuries, it's going to be Jacksonville, because they already had a schedule set up down the stretch to be able to push themselves into that playoff spot. It's going to suck. Well, I guess they're going to be looking to see what the Bengals look like without Joe Burrow too, because everybody else was relying on the Bengals to possibly beat the Chiefs coming up in December, January, like they always do, because that's all a huge matchup for the seeding. If Jacksonville is surprising to me. I think that Trevor Lawrence isn't 100% healthy, but if they can get themselves to like a 2 seed where maybe the Chiefs slip up 3 times and you get the number 1 overall seed and you have home field advantage throughout, maybe that's what this team needs. It's just they're like, they could either be the biggest disappointment in the playoffs, or I feel like they could be something that nobody expected, and I don't know if there's going to be much in between. I don't think that they're just going to get blown out in the first wild card game.
Yeah, I never don't see that. There's a lot of offensive talent there, and some to add to the discussion about these playoff teams. I think it's key. I saw on the screen they talking about Jalen Ramsey with the game-sealing interception, but I think it's very key that Jalen Ramsey came back as quickly as he did for Miami, and how that helps their secondary. You can basically move everyone else on down. You don't have to rely on Eli Apple being a cornerback 1, or whether that be Xavier Howard when he's healthy. You could put Jalen Ramsey in that CB1 role, and you could have the rotation of Kohu, Howard when he's healthy, Eli Apple. You could just kind of take a deep breath and know that Jalen Ramsey has that number 1 receiver for the duration of the game, and you don't have to sweat it. So that makes Miami a lot more dangerous of a team, just that one player coming back.
No doubt, especially in the secondary like that. His last interception, though, that was pretty high level quarterback play right there. To be able to jump that high and control the catch. Tyler here, the way Jacksonville played today, using Ridley gives him more optimism that they have all year from his team. So we'll see. Lawrence has kind of been. He needs to kind of have that he needs to show up a little bit this year in the playoffs a little bit.
You got to let Ridley bet on himself to score, and then he's going to play.
Yeah, there you go. You got that. He'll play better on that. Quick here before we keep going on with it. The Chargers, man, they just know how. Again, nobody knows how to lose better. Nobody knows how to lose better. Staley again, is he going to make it out? Will he make it through?
He just got fired in the Madden franchise that I'm playing. They actually fired him in Madden quicker than they fired him in real life.
Do you think he even went on a plane?
Jerry Creek got a shout out on Sunday Night Football.
Oh yeah, I see it right now.
Who got a shout out?
Well,
Cherry Creek High School.
Cherry
our
Creek,
high school.
Jimmy's alma mater. Yeah.
Right.
My high school, Nico and I's. They just got a shout out on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. Well, what I'm wondering is Brandon Staley gonna get left behind in Green Bay? Like, are they even gonna let him on the plane ride at this point? That's what
I feel like every week we keep saying there's no way he should make it back. Herbert played with a little toughness, I guess, in this game, but again, just the inconsistency of the way they're able to do things on offense, not make these simple plays, and then just the timeliness that you need between your offense and defense. It's just unbelievable. Love comes out with a couple big plays at the end, and they steal it again. I mean, what do you think, Jordan, of the just real quick, of the Chargers?
It just kind of compounds what we've been saying all season long on this show and many others. It's just wild inconsistently. They find ways to lose.
I just need to leave them as game of the day every week too. Just leave them up there and just fit in the other team. They'll be involved in it somehow. Like this always.
the most talented team at losing. I just on paper they have so much speed on the receivers. They have the running backs. They have good blockers up front on both sides. It doesn't make sense. It's 110% on coaching. The organization's got to shred the coaching and restart.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so it's that, but also at the same time, I feel like the team is very star dependent, where there's a lack of depth. Like, yeah, on the edge you have a Joey Bosa and a Khalil Mack, but these kind of get a little thin. And you look at their defense; they can get sliced. They'll get gashed in the running game. And you have the stars. You'll have a Mike Williams and a Keenan Allen. And then once those people are gone, you got Quentin Johnston, the rookie that they spent a lot of money on, but not money, but they spent a high investment draft pick on, and he dropped a pass that could have had the Chargers back in the game, or a potential go-ahead touchdown that could have given them a win. And you just kind of feel like once the stars are gone, once, Daren James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, like the bigger players, the Austin Ecklers, the stars, you kind of look at the rest of the team, and it just feels like there's some missing depth.
And the way just the way they always end up, like the last 2 minutes of a game. I mean, no team it just does it worse. Like they can't defend at the end of it. It was like how I feel about the Raiders on third down this year. I'm actually getting a Raiders defense that looks like they actually have a pulse. So I'm actually can't be complaining too much about it. But we're seeing the play here again, just like you said, just not enough there in the secondary to get a dub here at the end. The Chargers again fall. The Packers, they still remain on our list. We'll see if we put the Chargers on our list today, folks, if we're eliminated or not. I highly doubt it, but we'll see if they make it on it. Hey, fun question of the week here. Maybe if you have one for it, we'll get on to the third quarter of the show here. Thanksgiving memory football-wise, like maybe like a game that stands out. If there's a favorite food or dessert or something that's a go-to there at that you're getting number one with it. I'll start out with Thanksgiving memory. My football one is, of course, Leon Lett with the fumble against the Dolphins. I just remember everybody watching that game kind of around the house and like, there he goes sliding into the ball to give him another chance. So that was always a good one for sure. And then dinner, I always go cheesy mashed potatoes. I mean, you give me those from my aunt all day long, just the way I'm going with that with it. So, and I only get it on Thanksgiving, so I'm going with that. Of course, with stuffing as well. I got like to stuff it too. So, yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Football wise, it's the what they just talked about, what they showed on Sunday Night Football, Cherry Creek High School. We were always in the playoffs, and this is the time where if you're practicing on Thanksgiving, you're in the semis. So it was always that early Thursday morning practice. It's a walkthrough just down at the stadium. The years where there was snow and like it's completely white except for the turf field, because that they were out there at 5 o'clock in the morning with the heaters melting the snow off the turf, and you're like, we're one of 4 teams in Colorado right now still continuing to play football. Those are always really cool memories. And then also, too, the day after Thanksgiving with the old CU-Nebraska rivalry, I remember a couple times where it's like snowing like crazy in Colorado or in Nebraska, and just sitting there, the red versus the gold, the white of the snow. This is where football starts to really get exciting. It doesn't even have to be like a huge magnitude type game like that. But just football in the snow, there's something about it that makes it just a little bit mean a little bit more. And my Italian family cooks homemade chicken noodle soup every year. That's we only do it once a year, and we have the noodles in my freezer, and it's taking everything in my power not to go through and just raid the bags. Where's all the chicken noodle soup? I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Don't have it. That's great. Yeah, this is right. It's a good uniform matchup time right here. Get a lot of good stuff like that. What do you got, Rev?
In terms of Thanksgiving memories, it's kind of hard for me to pull out specific football ones, but I feel like everyone always remembers that one meme picture of Randy Moss of Vikings versus the Cowboys one game where they had 3 receptions, 196 yards, and 3 touchdowns, in which. Jerry Jones was definitely kicking himself in the press box in that game. So that's definitely one of the big ones. In terms of Thanksgiving dishes or sides, I mean, you already said stuffing, but yeah, I don't know. It's just something that's undefeated about stuffing and gravy and whether or not that. In terms of to add something else that no one else has mentioned, you got to do the sweet potatoes with the marshmallows on it. I don't know. That's just that's an underrated part of every single Thanksgiving dish. Just put some marshmallows inside of those sweet potatoes, and you got something going right there.
I like it. Jordan, what do you got?
Memory-wise, I used to be – it's funny that he brought up the Vikings. I used to be a huge Dante Culpepper fan. I remember when Detroit actually benched him Thanksgiving Day. He was supposed to get the start, and that was the end of the Culpepper era, period. That kind of a sad one, but
Hey, also, on that note, you remember the coin flip on Thanksgiving? Wasn't that
the Steelers-Lions game?
You remember that one?
Yeah.
Is that the one where you called the wrong thing? Because I remember the other coin toss memory that I have is Hasselbeck. We want the ball, we're going to score.
And then
throws a pick six.
Yeah, the pick six to Al Harris. Yeah.
He's it over. Go ahead, Jordan. Sorry to cut you out there.
Oh no, it's and my family we're Italian too. We on my mom's side, she makes these noodles that go with the potatoes, gravy, and turkey, and she puts it all together almost like a casserole type deal. It's amazing.
That sounds pretty damn good right there. I'm not gonna lie about that. So yeah, Thanksgiving time here. As always, we got 3 games on this year. We got the Lions, Packers start us off, Cowboys, Commanders, and then Niners, Seahawks there to wrap it up. Let's go to the Cowboys here. They end up beating the Panthers pretty easy. I guess my question here is, should we be looking at the Cowboys? We said this. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but like, is it just this part with the Cowboys is literally they have to just make the Super Bowl at this point? Is that literally what we've come down to? It doesn't really matter at all what they do in the regular season, because they are kind of kicking butt a little bit in some of these games. So I'm just not really sure how to judge them at this point.
Are we giving the Dolphins credit now for being the best beating up on bad teams?
I don't know. I don't know.
If we're going to give the Dolphins credit, then we can start giving the Cowboys more credit. But this is what these two teams are doing. They rack up BCS points against teams that don't even have a business being on the same field as them. So, no, they're not in the Eagles and 49ers class. They play the Eagles and 49ers in the playoffs this year. The same exact thing is going to happen. They're going to run a quarterback draw with no timeouts on the opponent's 30-yard line with 15 seconds left.
Or they're going to run a Hail Mary on the last play where they put Ezekiel Elliott at center. Regardless. It just kind of feels like they just feel like can crushers. Like, ultimately, they might play a Philadelphia close. They might play a San Francisco close, but it always just feels like Dallas Cowboys, they're just setting their fans up for heartbreak year after year after year because they look so good. They're crushing the bad teams. You got basically, they look like the best defensive and special teams unit in the entire NFL. They're getting these crazy pick sixes and these big-time splash plays and blocked field goals and returns for a touchdown. And I don't know what's Daren Bland's streak right now. The cornerback, I believe, like either the last 2-3 games, he's had a pick six. Like, he's been going crazy with the pick sixes this season. And they always do that and run the score up against – they run up the score against these bad teams, and then they never quite win the close, competitive 50-50 matchups.
His fourth pick in 6 games – or fourth pick there. He actually went Sacramento State out here, so – kind of funny. He's that's a ton of pick sixes though this season just to have right there, but let alone a career for some people.
How many touchdowns does he give up? Because the Cowboys cornerbacks have a lot of pick sixes, but they give up like three times as many touchdowns as pick sixes.
I mean, so we're all the same. This is just kind of one of these ho-hum moments though for the Cowboys. Just kind of, all right, let's just see. We got to wait for them come January.
I kind of feel I felt it the way when they had Tony Romo. It's either Super Bowl or bust. They've been doing this for over almost a decade and a half now, where it's just they win the game they're supposed to win. They hang in with the good teams. I mean, I can kind of think of a game where that Tony Romo went against Peyton Manning in Denver. And, at the end of the game, Dallas's coach was like, "Dang, we almost had him. It was a close one." And that's been kind of Dallas's culture. We're like, "Oh, as long as we're right there with the good teams."
Yeah, that was Peyton Manning scoring his first rushing touchdown in 10 years. Because he ran the bootleg and ran it in outside of DeMarcus Ware.
But it's a culture problem. So I say Super Bowl or bust, because they're always going to win the games they're supposed to win. They have the payroll, they have the talent, they have some of the depth. but until they win the big one, yeah, it's just kind of a floating boat until the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I get you on that one. So we got so the Cowboys, they kind of do their thing. We talked about the Texans. Maybe Jimmy, I heard you kind of make the point on the show this morning. If they do win out, they can win out. They win out. CJ Stroud didn't have his best game today, but they end up getting another W today over the Cardinals, which they should. But hey, at this point, when you're a rookie quarterback, you just take every win you get in a division like that. You just rack them up. Doesn't matter how you get them. He does show this ability, like we continue to say, to bounce back. Like against you guys, right? Like throws that terrible pick six, still makes a good drive there at the end of the game to get them in field goal range. So he does continue to show that little bit of a toughness there with it. Talked about your your Bengals getting losing to the Ravens on Thursday night. I talked about those injuries as well. So a couple news and notes from those games going into it.
Do we want to mention the NFL is investigating the Cincinnati Bengals for how they handled the injury? There's a possibility we're losing a draft pick.
Why? What happened with that?
Well, when they got into Baltimore on Wednesday night, the social media team posted a video where you could see his arm in a brace. And since you could see his arm in a brace, and then the team decided, okay, well, let's scrub that from our social media pages. It now looks suspicious. So the NFL is deciding to take a little bit of a closer look at things. Should this have been disclosed before the game happened is where the NFL is sitting right now. I don't know where I sit on this because I was like full conspiracy. I'm very emotional right now when it comes to the Bengals. I don't have a scab necessarily to talk about. So when I saw NFL investigating, it's like, damn it, we're going to start losing, and we have the ability to get a great draft pick, and they're going to take that first round draft pick away. And then Doug and Jordan were talking me down a little bit this morning on tailgate, but it's still like I don't like being investigated by I'm not New England. I'm not from Boston. This is not where I'm comfortable. I don't like being looked at by Roger Goodell.
It's not even Roger Goodell himself. It's the owner of Barstool Sports has an issue with it because he lost a lot of money. He's making a lot of noise, and he's using all the channels that he has to come down on it. I think you're looking too much into but, gambling.
What say about degenerates, Rev? Nico's a degenerate gambler.
People are going to bitch about it because was it a precondition or was it not? I mean, he's been bionically put together all season from the calf on up. So the fact that he had a brace on his hand, it shouldn't be shocking to anybody.
Well, it's a little iffy on my end from the factor of, you should be honest and report injuries. Like the injury report comes out every week. Like you should be honest and straightforward about what's going on. But at the same time, they expected Joe Burrow to be healthy enough to go. So I can understand why they didn't feel the need to put on the injury report. But ultimately, in hindsight, they underestimated just how badly the hand injury is. Now he's out for the season. And they kind of just – so, I can understand why they didn't report it because, they thought he'd be healthy enough to go. But ultimately, the fact that he got hurt afterwards kind of leaves that hindsight take there that, you should have reported it because he was wearing a brace.
It's only making waves because of betting. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, also, why scrub it from your social media? Just let it be out there. If you already got your hand caught in the cookie jar when you take it away, when you take it away and put it behind your hand, well, what's behind your back? What do you mean? Nothing. Daren, I'm giving you flashbacks to school. I know. Why'd you do that? I didn't.
I'm break this week, Jimmy. Come on, don't let me go there.
So am I. I know. But now it's a time to coalesce and be like,
we gotta bring Jimmy out of the shell shock.
We got to bring me out of it. We need to meet him.
Or very shell shocked. I feel the same way that I did about Carson Palmer's knee injury. I feel the same way that I did after Vontaze Burfict hit Antonio Brown in the head. I needed to take a week off of school back then. I'm glad I get a week off of school now because the sheer volume of questions that I'm going to have about Joe Burrow from the kids, from the other teachers, because you have no idea the amount of people that come by me like, hey, I drafted Joe Burrow in fantasy. What the hell's been up? Like, he's hurt. I don't know.
I've had the worst streak of luck with my fantasy quarterbacks this year. My goodness.
I'm proud of you, man. That's funny. All right, so as we keep moving there with it, we got late game check-in. We'll check out some of these games here at the end. We'll kind of get to the end with it. The Niners, they look good again. Purdy, a perfect rating. First time that's happened in Niners history since 1989.
since
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
Yeah, pretty good quarterback there. So he ended up going there with it. Should I try to trade for Higgins? Like that.
To trade Higgins, not trade for Higgins, to trade Higgins.
I'll let him trade him away. Trade him away.
If he can get healthy, I would keep him, because if somebody's going to have to make a push at the end of the season to get paid next season, it's T. Higgins. So if he can get himself back on the field, he's going to try and make up for what they're missing. I wouldn't trade him right yet.
Niners get 2 games. They got the Seahawks on Thursday, then they go at Philadelphia. Pretty good 2-game stretch there. They lose, though. It looks like Ifunga, for one of their better players for ACL. Great player for them in the secondary there at the safety. He just has a knack for the ball. He's just one of those guys where, like, if there's a fumble, he seems to be on it. Like, he just has a way
Malo reincarnated.
Exactly. It does feel like that a little bit. So the Niners don't get out unscathed today, but they look really awesome on offense again. They're using Kittle. Ayuk has the big play. Pretty ho-hum game, but I mean the Bucs did make them fight for a little bit in the first half there a little bit. Niners look scary, man. When they're on, I don't think any team can look the way they look.
No, without a doubt. They're so layered up. They have, honestly, it's unfair that they got Chase Young now just to complement an already dangerous defensive line.
He's lazy though, Rev. He's lazy. That's
gosh.
I mean, if you want to say so, but you put him as a very talented, athletically gifted number 2 pass rusher right next to Nick Bosa, who's getting all the attention, and now he gets to shine here. You know, that's the perfect environment for him. And then you got a pass rushing interior, Javon Hargrave and 6'8" Eric Armstead, and the attention's going away from him. He gets to shine. No one knows where you should slide your protection to, who you should send your running back to, who the tight end should chip, because there's just so many options here. And then obviously the positionless football you could do on offense, where maybe one play Debo's at running back and Christian's at receiver, or vice versa. And you can just do so many different things with that. And with this unit healthy, with Debo back, with Trent Williams back, they're right up there to being a top 3 team in the NFL.
It just power. It's funny to think that both teams were trying to get Patrick Surtain too. You know what I mean? Like, they were just trying to load up against each other here and kind of like this run. That's why I would keep asking about the Cowboys Lions, because it just feels like these other two are just. And then, you know what I mean? It's just like they're the cream of the crop. And this game in 2 weeks, Jimmy, I know they play the Chiefs this week, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but that Niners game is going to feel a little different, especially the way that playoff game ended last year. So I just hope they stay healthy here for one more matchup before they go at it.
Only got to make it through one more week. One more week. Who knows?
It'll be good. We'll see what happens with the pretty injury. The Hufunga one big injury there though with it. Allen and the Bills, they kind of roll against the Jets. I don't know what Wilson. I mean, at some point, I mean, is the ownership just saying they have to keep Wilson in at this point? I mean, you got to think that
what a fucking slap in the face. Robert Saleh has been forced to keep Zach Wilson at quarterback. You know that he's being forced because he will not answer the question when they ask him why is he still the quarterback. So I'm not making anything up there. And then to have that play where he's getting tackled out of bounds and Zach Wilson truck sticks Robert Saleh. Now I'll give him credit.
Tackled him.
No, he got tackled into the coach. He took the brunt of it. I will give credit to him though that he's built, so like it didn't hurt him too bad. It wasn't too much of an issue, but what a slap in the face. Like, I've been having to defend your little weasel ass, and now you just absolutely railroaded me on live television. Thank you very much, Zach Wilson. You are the bane of my existence. I hate my life as the New York Jets head coach.
What did I walk into?
We walked into Zach Wilson and he's being forced to play. That's what we're basically, because no coach in their right mind wants to keep him at quarterback. Thanks, guys. But one more question. What do you want to think of Kenneth Walker trade or hold? Kenneth Walker, is that the
running back for the Seahawks?
Yeah.
I would hold it.
I would trade.
I would hold, especially with the injury to Geno. We don't know his health. I would hold him.
Yeah, I would keep him.
I know Walker went out earlier today. However, when you give him the blunt force of the touches, he still got his young legs. He doesn't always hit the right hole, but you can tell he's so explosive. It's just like a young second-year player. However, you have to wonder with Zach Charbonnet getting more carries, are they going to go more 50-50? And if that's the case, I think you got to get rid of him. But yeah, if
it could be
Kenneth
good
Walker
to have
stays in
as
the
like a
feature
second
guy,
or third running back in the fantasy playoffs. So if you're in your playoff portion, if you're going to be in the playoffs and he's out for a little bit of time, he could be like a good second or third scoring option that maybe is the reason you beat somebody that you maybe shouldn't have.
Appreciate you tuning in here, Enrique. We appreciate the other guys that retweeted the show. We got our guy Tyler here, guys at the other sports show. Our guy CP over there in New York. His co-host there retweeting it as well, along with my guy C. Henry out in Detroit, and my guys over there at Elite Tweet Center doing it as well. So appreciate you guys retweeting our stuff over here at Talking the Gridiron here as we're kind of getting to the fourth quarter of it. We just talked about the Bills. It sounds like I don't even need to ask you guys this question because I feel like you answered it with the Cowboys. But I said, who do you believe in more, the Cowboys or the Bills? It sounds like for you guys, it sounds like it's the Bills, or would anybody say the Cowboys more than the Bills?
At this point, I said I trust the Cowboys more because you get a tale of two Josh Allens. You got the good Josh Allen in the playoffs in 2021. 2022, he was out here. There are times when he looked good, but then there are times when he was just throwing arm punts to the defense. And just the way Buffalo's been playing this year, it's just been very up and down, volatile. You can say that they should have beat the Broncos last week on Monday Night Football, but they're not playing disciplined football. They're making mistakes. Allen's throwing picks. There's not a reliable, consistent option outside of Stephon Diggs. You had the 12 people on the field on that field goal in which Denver missed, but they gave them another chance, obviously, because there's just so many mental errors and the volatility and up and down nature of Josh Allen. I trust the Cowboys to maybe, go in there and beat the New Orleans Saints in round one because at this point it looks like that's going to be the 4-5 battle. I can at least trust them to beat New Orleans.
My favorite tweet from last week was Tyler saying on this app, he's referring to Twitter or whatever it's called X. He goes, on the last 2 weeks, Dobbs is great, Allen sucks. So that's kind of how it goes with Allen. It kind of goes up and down with it a little bit. I hear you with that on the Cowboys. Jimmy, any thoughts on that?
I don't really have faith in either of them. I see them as fairly similar. The Cowboys are going to look better in the regular season, but when it comes down to it, I just think back to that the 26 seconds or whatever meme that was going around forever after that game against the Chiefs, and it was a joke at that point because we thought, oh, they'll be able to overcome this, they'll be able to figure it out. And the Bills still haven't taken that next step. The Cowboys haven't taken really that next step. They have to prove a lot more. They have to win in the games where it matters, and Dak has to be more than a game manager. They're similar. Dak and Josh Allen love throwing interceptions. It's one of their favorite pastimes of all. It's one of their favorite things to do in the history of the world is just throw interceptions. Oh, that guy's in an opposite colored jersey. Boom, throw it right there. But I really don't have faith in either. I think they're both first, second round playoff disappointments.
I still like Red with the arm punt. I like that was good. I got
the arm punt. Yeah, Dak just can't punt it quite as far with his noodle arm.
Definitely be using that. Yeah, the noodle. I love the Cowboys. There's a lot of you out there that love those damn Cowboys.
Did you get your Super Bowl tattoo last year or this year?
You get it last
Do you have Super Bowl 53 or 54?
We got a guy out here. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it, Enrique. Every Sunday we'll be with you. Be sure to tune in there with us. We'll be with you talking the gridiron all the way through it. All right, so get the tattoo. Well, we don't want to know where. Just get the tattoo. We don't need.
Yeah, don't tell me where. Just tell me when you got it. Don't tell me where you win. Who, what, win, not where, win.
All right, last game here. The Rams, it was the last one of the day. They rally. The Seahawks missed a 55-yarder at the end of the game. Very weird the way they went about that last drive. I just got to say, I thought they could have handled. I mean, wasn't the worst ending, but I'm like they could have done a little bit more to go about 8 more yards just to go a little bit closer.
Are we ready to give up on Drew Lock? Please. Please, for the love of God.
I gave up on it 2 years ago.
I know, Rev. You and I saw it. It's where we were living. But everybody else, all the people in Seattle are like, oh, watch. when Drew Lock gets a chance to play under Pete Carroll, it's going to be different.
Oh my
And he got his chance to play today. And he nearly
Ugh.
he's the reason they lost that game.
Terrible.
He did throw a pick, didn't he? Wait.
He did throw a pick
Yep,
on a pass he had no business throwing. Just what have we been saying for the last 3 years, Rev? Just take the sack, punt. If your drive ends with a kick, it's better than an interception. Trust me. Just trust us. You don't have to throw everything. You can hold on to it, and then guess what? We'll do this thing. You know that guy who likes to kick the ball? He's going to kick it 60 yards instead of you throwing it 30 yards and them intercepting it because you have nobody open.
He's
Yeah,
trying
at
to
this
see
point,
Go ahead, Rev.
At this point, he basically plays like Zach Wilson with a green light, basically. Like, they can't see things. They can't anticipate players getting open. They have to see the receiver open
Zach
before they
Wilson
actually
with a
throw
green
it.
light.
They
That's
can't read the
awesome.
field. But at this point, the Jets know that they have to keep Zach Wilson under a leash, that he can't just throw whatever. Whereas Drew Lock, you can't tell him that. There's never a pass that he doesn't think he could throw. And both of them just have trouble reading the field and seeing and anticipating things get open.
I was not expecting Drew Lock strays today on the show, but that's what happens when you have a backup from the hometown here. I don't know. I was not in there.
I didn't have that on my bingo card this week.
We could FaceTime Nico. There's 12 and a half minutes left. He's at the game. We could FaceTime Nico and get some more Drew Lock slander on the show. But I feel like we stepped up pretty good. Unlike Drew Lock, we stepped up and fulfilled our roles to perfection.
17-12 now. I got on there.
4 field goals. That's what the
offense.
Broncos offense has been able to muster. 4 field goals.
Yeah.
And there's 2 fumble recoveries mixed in there.
Yeah. I feel like for whatever reason, Minnesota this entire football season has been playing with a grease football because no one fumbles the ball more than the Vikings do.
They do, man.
Denver's not taking advantage of it.
And Dobbs fumbled the very first play of the game. They got it back on that.
That's so
front end
hard.
drive.
Nobody
Yeah.
understands that unless you've been the center. Oh, and now we got an interception. So the Broncos do have a chance down to 5.
I swear, half the handoffs I've seen Alexander Bassett take this season, half of his handoffs this year have been fumbles. Like, I swear.
Snapping to a new person is so. I don't know if you guys watch the Kelty podcast. I'm not going to give it a shout out because they're already way bigger than us. But they were talking about it. I need to feel your knuckle on my grundle. You need to be up in there. And if you're nervous about it, if you're gun shy about anything, we're going to have a bad exchange and there's going to be a fumble and a turnover. So you better get yourself in there.
The grundle, I love it. The
You need to have a sweaty knuckle. Don't ask why.
Well, I don't want to know anymore. That's yeah, we got that. 17-12 the Vikings lead right now. Can the Broncos win 18-17? Is it possible to get 2 more field goals to pull out the
It is
victory?
definitely possible in 12 and a half minutes.
Got a lot of people tuning in tonight. Appreciate you guys with the comments there. Keeping it going here. The Oh Yeah part of the show. A couple quick games here on the note. Jaguars, like we said, they whoop up on the Titans. They look like they are throwing in the white flag, everybody, the Titans there. So they get their butt kicked. Also, they got the Commanders. They end up losing to the Giants. Never good when you lose to the Giants there. Terrell, your Giant, they go down again. Hal, he goes down with
That wasn't our pick, Jimmy. We said they were going to get smashed.
I know. I needed the excuse to play Chela Luna. I just needed it. I've been waiting. He said we were going to get to it at the end of the show. I've had that queued up on Spotify for 53 minutes.
There you go, baby. 53 with it. We got to give the man a chance to shine. Mr. DeVito gets the job done. They end up pulling out the win. The Giants fans, it's like one of those when you have a terrible season, you get that one win that kind of just keeps you from a breaking point the whole rest of the way. Because, you know what I mean? It's like when you go on a 13-game loser to finish out the season. So gives them a little breather there, Jimmy, with it. Got 7 people tuning in here with it. Jaguars standings check with it. We talked about the Jags. They're leading that division right now. Like we talked about in the North, or in the AFC South, the Chiefs with the West, Ravens leading the North, Dolphins again on top of the East, NFC Eagles leading the East, Lions the North, Saints 5-5 over those 4-6 Falcons, and the Niners take the lead with the 1-game lead over the Seahawks as the Seahawks fall today to the Rams. So we're starting to get into it, like you guys said, the final part here. We're starting to get to the holiday season. The game's starting to come at us a little bit quicker here. With a couple little last-minute notes before I get to our teams we're crossing off. Cowboys are going to add Jimmy Johnson to the ring there. Falcons are going to go to Desmond Ridder next week. And like I already mentioned, Ufunga's out with the ACL injury. So a couple things there going on. News and notes wise, Jimmy Johnson does get added to that ring there for the Cowboys. Interesting things. Jimmy, are we taking the Bengals off the list? Are the Bengals on the list? Are we crossing? You can't do that to them, right? They're still in playoff contention.
I'm laughing tongue in cheek. Do you see the last comment there?
No.
Guess what this show has been infiltrated by? This show has been infiltrated by my social studies students. So they found it. They've used the research skills that I've taught them all year, and then they found the show. That's awesome. That's great.
There you go. Got our audience here.
I'm a little distracted, Daren. Can you rephrase your question? But no, we're not taking them off the list. They're on the list right now. Maybe we can take them. Maybe they'll have the ceremony for being the first team taken off the list. But I think right now with what happened, it's tough. I don't know what's really going to happen at this point, and it's hard. I want to have faith in them, but Joe Burrow, he took this team to places that I didn't think I'd see. So for me to sit here and say that it's going to be just fine watching Jake Browning and or AJ McCarron, I'm still on the leaning towards, let's probably I'm ready to put them on the list because I just want to stop being hurt. I want to stop having that hope and that pain. I just want it to end.
Jordan, are we saving? Are we going to save this man from? I mean, we can't. I mean, what are we? I'm looking at it right now.
He's not going to let you put him on the list, so they're not going on the list this week.
Can't do it. We got to see how the Steelers game pans out. We got to see if the coaching staff can develop a game plan centered around the absolute great talent they still have. We still have Jamar Chase. We still have a very capable Joe Mixon. We still have an above-average offensive line. The pieces are still there. We still have Lou Amarillo and the boys that can put together some great halftime adjustments. Can come out firing on all cylinders if they can get it together. Sam Hubbard's going to come back from injury. T. Higgins is going to come back. There are.
I'm with Jimmy. No,
Sam Hubbard is a big deal. Sam Hubbard not being there has been
as a run defense defensive end. Hubbard's a big deal, yeah. Because you have Hendrickson, who's your pass rushing guy, dial up the pressure all day. Hubbard's always been a stout run defender. He's one of those underrated kind of defensive ends. So
he's sneaky how big he is. He's so.
What do you guys think of the Chargers? Are we still keeping that? I mean, they're only 4-6. Like it's kind of. I feel like we got it. I mean, is it too early for them too? Too early?
Cut them. They're out. No.
Shred it.
All right.
Shred it with their coach's contract. Just right through the shredder.
All right. So, Jimmy, do you agree? Well, you all have to agree. Are the Chargers?
If they don't end up firing Staley, then yeah, they should go on the list. They would be the team that we can add this week if they don't make a change at coaching. Some kind of change.
We'll pet to them. That's the team I feel like the Bagels will give you a little bit more life. Here with Jimmy, we'll give you a little bit more just to kind of survive.
You guys are just setting me up to have a full-blown meltdown. I don't know if you guys are – I don't know who's a hockey fan, but the Steven Dangle, the Leafs guy who releases a video that gets about 1.5 million views every season after the Maple Leafs get bounced from the playoffs. That's going to be me with the Bengals.
That'll be you. How about the Commanders? Can we put them on yet now? I feel like are they 4-7? Like I feel like
they needed to win this week. There's not a whole lot of must wins. That was a must win for Washington if they wanted to do something. Honestly, why aren't we talking about Washington the same way we're talking about Los Angeles with the
Chargers? I just mean because I added
I know, but Riverboat Ron has got to go. Ron Rivera is just going to make you mediocre.
I'm adding him. They're going to the list. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, well, I've seen signs of improvement just with the Bieniemy and Sam Howell, just when it comes to how well he's been running the offense, despite the fact that he's been getting harassed and sacked basically more than anyone else in the NFL this season. But I've seen flashes of it, but ultimately something is missing right now. They traded both of their best pass rushers at the trade deadline. Ultimately, they're in too tough of a division as well. Just looking at the two teams in front of them, maybe not so much the Giants, but they just lost to the Giants. So ultimately, you can't trust them to put games together. So you got to cut them.
One of my favorite parts of the show there. Who are we cutting off the list? All right, Monday night. Who we got? Chiefs, Eagles. Spreads Chiefs 2.5. Jordan, who you got winning it?
I'm gonna stick to my guns from tailgate this morning.
All right, good. No change of heart.
I picked the Eagles, and I'm sticking to them. I think that the way they drafted defensively primarily. They made the midseason trade to upgrade at the safety position. They have a great pass rush that honestly Kansas City hasn't done well against top defenses this year. They're squeaking out games because of their own defense. So I think the Eagles are going to make a big statement win this Monday. I got the Eagles by 3. Give me the Eagles by 3.
You got Rev?
I got to agree there. I got the Eagles winning this matchup here. You look at the head-to-heads, Travis Kelce's won all 3 of the matchups, but I feel like right now just with how A.J. Brown's been playing, how the offense is, and how they can rely on a running game, even at times when Jalen Hurts hasn't been at his best this year. I feel like it's kind of been somewhere in between who Jalen Hurts was in 2021 and who he was last season, where you get the glimpses of brilliant play, but you also get the turnovers. But I feel like they can rely on the running game and kind of balance things off, as well as just how good A.J. Brown's been playing, dial up the pressure on the other side of the ball, where you look at the tackles they have this year and Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor, not quite on the level of the tackles they had last year. I think Philadelphia pulls it off.
That'll be a big win there in Kansas City. Jimmy, you sticking with your pick this morning?
I'm sticking with my pick from our show last Thursday because here's the thing. Right now, the Broncos kicked another field goal, so your prediction of 18-17 is still in play. I picked the Vikings, and Nico and I this week have a lot of movement. So as of now, we're tied with 2-1 records. If the Vikings win and I can get the Chiefs to win, I've made up all of those stupid BS points that he and I made up over our summer-long battle of trivia. So I'm sticking with the Chiefs. I don't know. I think that they're going to be – I want them to win the regular season matchup this year so that if they do end up having a Super Bowl rematch, Jason Kelce gets to win a Super Bowl on his way to retirement, because that's what I'm rooting for. If the Bengals aren't going to have Burrow, and if I'm going to have to temper my expectations, see what things are going with Cincinnati. I do love Jason Kelce. He's one of my favorite offensive linemen. I want to see him go out on top. So,
and you also mentioned that wouldn't be a bad rematch. It wouldn't be from like from just like two teams going at it. But we'll see what happens in this game Monday night. That's as good a Monday night game as you can get. So we'll have to enjoy that one with it. All right, game ball for Week 11 could be a team. What do you guys got? Jordan, we'll start with you. Who gets your game ball for Week 11 here in the NFL?
Give me the Cleveland Browns defense. They were out there as a whole unit. They were out there almost exclusively 2-1 when it comes to minutes. Their offense didn't give them a lot of chances to win, and they squeaked it out. So,
good call, Jimmy. Who do you got?
I'm thinking I'm going to go with Puka Nacua because the Rams didn't deserve to win that. And who was Matthew Stafford looking at when they needed to play? Cooper Kupp went out, so we don't have number 10. You're going to look to Puka Nacua, and Puka Nacua stepped up. So rookie stepping up in a big situation and got a big in-division win. I'm going to give him my game ball.
Good call there with it. Rev, you got a game ball?
Yeah, so Jimmy went with a current Ram player. I'm going to go with a former Ram player in Jalen Ramsey, and what he did to seal that game off with that game-sealing interception at the end, just 2 picks on the day, coming back from a pretty gruesome – I don't remember if it was an MCL injury, something that usually sets people down for an entire year. He's able to come back and instantly comes in there and looks like the same top 5 cornerback that he was beforehand. So you got to give that to him.
That's a good call there. Yeah, like you said, those 2 picks were really good. That last one was off the charts. You killed the Raiders. Raiders couldn't do anything on offense through the air. I got my guy from the Texans, Tank Dell. I like whenever you're named Tank, right? You got to develop. You got to get on here once in a while.
My fantasy team loves him.
Tank Dell on the fantasy team, 149 and a tutty. So he gets the touchdown. He gets the game ball for me this week. Gabe, quick little look ahead to week 12 here, gentlemen. Different week. We got, like I said, the 3 Thursday night games. And then Friday, you get Dolphins, Jets. And then we got Sunday, we got a few. So we got 4 games, weird time there to start right away. And then when you go to the weekend, the one matchup that really kind of sticks out to me a little bit is we got Bills, Eagles there on Sunday, Ravens, Chargers Sunday night. That should be a close game. To me, those are the 2 kind of best games coming. And then your Bengals, Steelers go at it, gentlemen, on
the Bengals
Sunday.
and the who. I'm sorry, that word does not exist. That word doesn't exist for this week of my life.
So you guys are rivals this week with it.
Keep that QB bubble wrapped up, man.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's going to be difficult because we have to do a show where we also have to talk about our alma mater totally cheesing a chance to win a playoff game and be the first team since 91. So we're going to talk about that on top of the mountain. But yeah, no, that word, I'm not even going to say it. It's still it's our most liked post on social media was me when my sister gave me this shirt. And I don't know if the Steeler fans were liking it to like put it in my mentions, be like, okay, now we're going to keep this receipt, but I'll take it. Everybody in my life is a Steelers fan and I hate it.
They're one of those teams. Like it's just, they're right there every year with it. They're annoying, but your teams go at it. So you guys have a little trash talk on the line going into it next week. Like I said, you got the 3 Thursday night games as well. You guys then doing a show, Jimmy, this week for before Thanksgiving?
We will be getting one out. It'll probably be released Thanksgiving morning, so you guys will have a whole weekend to get it listened to, and then we'll see what my weekend looks like next weekend. Wrestling season's starting, so I don't know if I'll be able to come back on Tailgate. That's why I wanted to jump on this morning, but we'll have Far End of the Bench. Rev and I will be back with Top of the Mountain as long as Colorado School of Mines keeps winning, because now we're only down to one RMAC school in the NCAA Division II playoffs, unfortunately.
Yep, those playoff woes, man. We got there again, favorable matchup, but yeah, the playoff woes, but yeah, Mines is still doing their thing. So we'll be covering that.
Very cool, very cool. And then Jordan, you guys will be doing the tailgate probably again here on Sunday morning as well. That was a good show you guys had this morning. So yeah, that's Talking the Gridiron for you this week, week 11. Rev, appreciate you jumping on with us this week. Hopefully maybe we can get you on again here before the season wraps up. Overall, but appreciate your insight, man. Always love having you on the show.
Yeah, glad that the audio worked out here because I'm in a place where I normally don't record. So as long as everything turned out well, everything's good on our end. So yeah, I'll be coming back on.
That'd be sweet. I appreciate that. That'd be awesome. Jordan, thanks again, man. It was awesome getting your insights here on the game, on the games, of course, man. So we'll do it again next week. Jimmy, we're chugging through, my man. We're chugging through. We're almost here with it. Gentlemen, who they? You'll see what Mr. Brownie has for you in store next week. For Jimmy Pilato, for Rev, for Jordan. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Hey, this is Brandon, CEO of the Variety Sports Network. Thank you again for watching tonight's show. Best way you can support us is by hitting that subscribe button, that like button, and hitting the notifications so you don't miss out on the next show right here on the Variety Sports Network.